please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the August 10th, 2021 Board of Trustees for the School Town of Speedway meeting. We are working from a 15-item agenda, and the first item on the agenda is to approve the minutes from the July 13th, 2021 meeting.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the July 13th, 2021 meeting.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Go ahead.
All those in favor, please signify. Thank you. We'll sign the minutes.
Maybe send one each way.
Yeah.
Thank you. Usually we have a straight line.
Yep.
John.
Okay, thank you very much. The second item on the agenda is to conduct a public hearing on the 2022 capital projects plan. I'll now open the public hearing on that projects plan. Is there any commentary or questions from the audience? Hearing and seeing none, we'll now close the public hearing on the capital projects plan. The third item on the agenda is to adopt a 2022 capital projects plan.
Mr. President, the recommendation is to adopt the advertised 2022 capital project plan as presented.
Yes,
I move that we adopt the 2022 capital projects plan as presented.
thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. The motion's been made and seconded. Is there discussion from the board? Okay, would all those in favor please signify by raising their right hand? That passes unanimously, so we will sign the resolution to adopt the plan.
Let you go the other way because I got to sign it at the end.
All right. The fourth item on the agenda this evening is a report of the school's performance on state assessments from 2021.
Usually at this time, we would be talking a lot of numbers, and things changed just a little bit. So I think it's important before we start talking about results that you understand a little bit about the complexity of these recent state results, assessment results. In 2019, iLearn replaced what we had been giving, which was the iStep Plus test to grades 3 through 8 and biology students at the high school level. That was in 2019, and a baseline was developed at that time of how our students had performed. And if you remember, the iLearn results were significantly different than the iStep results had been because of new tests, a new format. Then 2020 hit, and everything changed. The iLearn test was not administered. It was waived due to the pandemic. So 2021, we were still in the pandemic, and many of our students didn't even attend. They attend virtually. We had a large number of students that did virtual instruction. But we had to give the iLearn test in 2021 in grades 3 through 8. So a new baseline was established. So significant student learning was impacted by the COVID-19 and the pandemic. Dr. Katie Jenner, who is the state superintendent of instruction, gave a report to the state school board, and she made 3 very important points. And as we start talking about iLearn and iStep results, we need to consider these. First of all, that the data shouldn't be any indictment on anyone or any organization how they've done. The pandemic was beyond anybody's control. There wasn't a roadmap of how to do this. And despite all the unknowns, we created a safe environment for kids in our classroom and for our staff. And Indiana is proud to say that we had 97% of our students participate in the iLearn and the iStep test, 97%. That is by far the highest of any state in the nation in terms of state achievement tests. So we have one of the most comprehensive sets of data of any state in the nation. Second point that she made was there's not one fix for the problems that happened during the pandemic. This is going to take more than a year or 2 to fix. And so it's not going to be fixed during summer school or one year of instruction. The third one was probably the most significant, and that is while student learning was impacted across the board as a result of the pandemic, our most at-risk students, those students that come from impoverished situations, special education students, English learner students, that they had a gap in learning that existed prior to the pandemic. And the pandemic created that gap or made that gap even wider. And it's one of those things that we got to think about, how do we fix this? So our statewide data indicates overall the academic impact of the pandemic was substantial, ranging from moderate to significant, and those 2 words are important. Moderate meaning that it could take about a year to fix, and significant meaning that it probably is going to take more than a year to catch up or to fix. Across schools and academic subjects and demographic groups. Across the states, the students that were impacted the most were elementary students and junior high students. And specifically those in math. Math was one of those significant, which means that we're going to maybe take more than a year to catch up. And those that in English language arts were moderate. So naturally, when we hear this data and this information, one of the things we talk about is comparison. One of the things we're warned against is don't compare it to 2019 data. A new baseline needs to be set. So usually at this time of year, I'm talking to you about how we did in comparison to previous year. So we're not going to compare it to 2019. We're going to do exactly what she said to do and not compare it to previous 2019 results. What we will do, though, is what I'd like to share with you is how our students did compared to schools around us. I think that is a more of a reasonable comparison. How did our students do with students in Marion County, and how did our students do in surrounding counties? And I've got good news to present. And in your packet, there's some data about how we did compared to Marion County and how we did compared to Hendricks County. In the elementary level, even though our results were a little lower than what we're used to in Speedway, our students outperformed all of our Marion County brethren in that on the test. The students that are schools that have similar demographics than ours. At the junior high level, again, lower than previous standardized test results, but happy to say in the two areas of math and language arts that the junior high was first in math and first in language arts performance, and by a significant margin in both, by the way. And last is our high school, and I'm going to save high school comments because our high school administration is here, and they're going to talk to us about their results on the ISTEP test this year. So with that, is there any questions that you have with your information in your packet or questions about standardized assessments this past year?
I would just say that as we look forward to the next couple of years of ways that we can continually improve for all of our students, I'm very grateful for the fact that we keep our class sizes as small as we do, because I think that's going to be critical for that, as close to one-on-one remediation as possible for those students who need that, and keeping the class sizes where they are is going to be important for the next couple of years.
I definitely think that is one of our secrets that we have over some of our surrounding schools is our class sizes. Our class sizes do make a difference. And quality of teaching staff. Quite honestly, we have a great teaching staff here in Speedway.
I think 2 points that I'd like to make. One is that I think that it is clear from not just the Marion County data, but you guys provided specifically with Hendricks County data. I think it is clear that schools that stayed in person as much as possible fared better. And so our decision to do that, our commitment to do that, the commitment of our teachers to keep the students in the classes, I think it's just obvious. I mean, I know there's all kinds of research out there that's showing that and saying that, but I mean, you can see it. And so I appreciate all that went into last year. And I think also it bears saying that I know that, I fully anticipate that we'll be sitting at our annual retreat in December, and I will be hearing about how our elementary principals, how our admin team, these numbers are not where we're not staying here. Mm-hmm. And so while, we did very nicely compared to other schools, we're still not where we as Speedway schools are. And you've got a board that supports what we need to do to get that moved, but I'm confident, I'm just totally confident that the wheels are already spinning in all of the buildings as to exactly how this is going to get, it's just impressive how our teams do that. And so I'm looking forward over this next year to hearing, getting to hear when we get updated on what's going to be going on.
One of the things that, it's a great comment, one of the things that our principals said when they saw these results, and again, they're the best in Marion County, but it's not what we're used to. And this is my 41st year in education. It is by far the craziest year I've ever been through in my educational career. But when you tell the principals this is what happened, not one of them made an excuse. Not one of them said anything other than, we can do better. Matter of fact, one principal said, if you need me to resign, I will resign. I said, no, I need you to stay right where you're at. We're doing great. No, you're doing great. We need to take a look at these. And it's like Dr. Jenner said, don't compare them to 2019. There is no comparison. Don't compare them to that. Move forward and see what we can do to make improvements from this point forward. So,
And I think relatedly is this idea that, and so for parents out there, we're not all about the number about, and we get the problems inherent in standardized testing, and there's so many issues like that. But what we are about is the best education the students can receive. And this is one metric, and it's one of many that you guys use. And again, I mean, I never cease to be impressed as to when new things and new ways and new, the technology that's used and programs that are used, and that we can measure student success. And that is what Speedway is about. And so, yeah. So I'm just looking forward to where we're going to go with this.
any other questions, comments?
All right, thank you for that report. The next item on the agenda is a report of 2021 testing from our high school team.
Good evening. My name is Trenton Borum. I'm Director of Student Services at Speedway High School. And it's always an honor to stand before the board and this community to discuss Speedway High School's unprecedented academic achievement through the College Board's Advanced Placement Program. This evening, I don't want to just go through the historical background or simply read to you what you have in your packet that's readily available in your packet. Instead, what I hope to do is briefly articulate tonight the uncharted waters that the school town of Speedway is successfully navigating in public education and the Advanced Placement Program. I will touch on a few highlights that you can see on your packet just so we can discuss 2021, but I wanted to also talk about what we're doing currently for the current school year and where we are, that numbers that aren't found in your packet. Just a couple of brief highlights. For the class of 2021, we had 97 out of 121 seniors in the class of 2021 take an AP course before they graduate. So that is about 80% of the senior class. 59% of the class of 2021, the class that just graduated last year, earned at least one qualifying score through their 4 years of high school. The metric is usually or generally determined by a 25% passing rate of a graduating class. So our graduating class, that continues to go up each year. As you can see, class of 2020 was 52%. The current class of, the previous class of 2021 was 59%, and we're looking forward to 2022 being actually in the 60s, in the mid-60s. So we will hopefully continue to grow and continue to make sure that our students are earning a qualifying score, earning college credit, and continue to hit that metric as well.
That just needs the applause factor that it needs right there. It's unbelievable.
I think, and thank you, Mr. Gay, because I think sometimes we can get lost in, like you said, just the numbers. As a minority-majority school, as a school that has over 55% free and reduced lunch, some of the things that we are seeing at Speedway High School, when I say unprecedented, we have the same kind of clientele as several schools throughout Marion County, throughout the state of Indiana. And I've always talked to you all about open access and saying open access is critical. Our students need to have access to this curriculum. It can't just be an elitist type of curriculum where only the top students are exposed to our most viable and rigorous curriculum. I think we've actually exceeded that level, but beyond open access. What we've tried to really do now is really encourage all students to rigor up, to challenge themselves, while also offering support to those students, whether it's through our study tables program, obviously bell-to-bell classroom instruction, things that we do outside of the classroom to make sure that all of our students are able to be exposed to this curriculum, but not only exposure, but be successful, earn a qualifying score. And that is, again, a testament to this board as well, that's this community, the support that our students don't have to pay for an exam, that won't be a barrier for any of our students to take an AP course or take an AP exam. And it is not at all unprecedented for our students to be in multiple AP courses, where at some school districts, they may not even be in one. So that is something that I just want to make sure does not go unnoticed. And again, to express our gratitude to this community, to our teachers, to our leadership staff, for really redesigning our curriculum. I know I mentioned at the last board meeting that I presented at that we were implementing something for English, where all of our students, regardless of if they selected an AP course, because we felt English was so critical to being successful, whether you're a carpenter, cosmetologist, a doctor, dentist, writing is something that is critical for our students. So whether you are on the so-called honor track or you're just doing the English curriculum, you will still have an AP experience through the AP curriculum. So this current school year, 93% of the class of 2022 is currently in an AP course. Wow. So that is a significant number. When we look at our entire student body, 500 out of 533 students, 408 are currently taking an AP course. So that's 77% of our student body. So we want to continue to encourage our students and continue to make sure that they feel empowered, they feel capable, they feel competent. And I think that as we continue to look and explore other things, we're also looking at ways to include more STEM, because we have the humanities side covered with English and the AP psychology. So we're looking at making sure that we don't forget that we want to have all groups represented in our STEM courses: computer science, calculus, AP statistics. So we will continue to look at curriculum designs, continue to look at systems to encourage our students and make sure that we're leading them in that way, so that regardless of what they do when they leave Speedway High School, they're more than capable to do whatever their goals are. So I didn't want to go through all of these different highlights. Obviously, you have that in your packet. I know that Mr. Claiborne will be speaking, as well as Mr. Day. He is up next, our new assistant principal, who will talk more about our I-STEP scores from this past spring. And after Mr. Claiborne finishes, we can answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
He looked good.
He looks awful.
Good evening, President Harding, members of the board, Dr. Trebley, Mr. Disney. It's an honor to be here tonight and join the Speedway team as administrator. Before I talk about the I-STEP, I want to talk about something that is not measured on any state assessment. And my experience that I've had the last couple of weeks, as I've gotten to know the students and so forth, these kids are amazing. I told our front office staff today, I said, these kids are some of the most polite, kind, young adults I have ever had the pleasure of working with. I've heard more please, thank yous, ownership and accountability when they make a mistake. Sorry about that, I won't do that again. And it's actually mind-blowing. And to see a school year start on day one with students already engaged in academics, I wasn't ready for that from the standpoint of, one, I haven't seen that really in other schools I've been in, but coming off of the year we've had, it's just absolutely amazing. That reflects well on the teachers, it reflects well on the students, the parents. It's just really been impressive. And so I know that won't show up on any state assessment, but I think all these factors go into what we see, the results that Speedway High School and the community as a whole has been getting. So I just want to talk a little bit briefly about the I-STEP. I know we talked about Marion County and performing very well in Marion County, but also in 5 of the subgroup categories, we rank in the top 10 in the state. And so beyond just Marion County, we are doing well against any school that you put us up against. The pass rate for both math and language at the high school is nearly 20% higher than the state average. And so we're not just talking a point here and there, we're talking really a significant performance over other schools. And so I think that's worth noting. In addition, I talked to the staff about the power of one. What I mean by the power of one is there are the difference between us and a school that may have performed a little better than us, 1 student or 2 students. And if you looked at state rankings, if we had 5 students pass that we didn't have an opportunity to get enough instruction time with, we would jump up to the top 10. And so we are right there. And when you can name individual children and you know exactly who you need to move, who you need to work with, who you need to support, that's a very workable plan. And so it's really exciting to see that as well. And so we will continue to help identify things with children we can improve. But the study tables is, to me, again, a commitment by staff, administration, and community that says our kids come here to work. They know that the kids will rise to any standard we place them, up in front of them. And it's just been a real honor to see that start. So as I continue to get to know the community more, the students more, and how they can contribute, I just really look forward to what this year can bring. And I think one thing I don't think we've mentioned yet is not only do we have the loss of instruction, the test moved up to February. And so you add all those pieces together, you get a lot of changes in your performance. And so I just appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening and share that with you. And I'm going to turn over to Mr. Claiborne.
Thank you.
Thank you and welcome.
Welcome.
I wanted to echo what the other two gentlemen have said. They're a tough act to follow, but we appreciate you having us here tonight. To add on to what Nathan said, Mr. Disney said earlier that the students who are most likely to suffer through the loss of instruction, the loss of time in classroom, just the loss of routine, were those most vulnerable students, the special ed students, English learning students. And we did end up #1 in the state with our English learning students. We ended up #2 in the state with our special education students. And that is also with the shutdown between Thanksgiving and going up to the week right before we started testing. And so I think, it speaks just volumes about the work our teachers do with the time they have. Of course, we'd love to have that time be as much as possible and have those results reflect everything. But there's nothing, we've set the bar so high that we are still looking at 1 or 2, being #1 in Marion County and being #1 in those subgroups is still a huge accomplishment. Mr. Borum talked about our really constant striving to go beyond open access. And I think the term elevated access, I've been enrolling students really for the first time in large quantities over the last 2 weeks, and really trying to convince them, okay, you weren't in the advanced classes at your last school. The last school said you couldn't sign up for them. Here, not only are we saying you can, I'm telling you that's what we're going to do. We're going to lift you up, and then we're going to support you so that you're successful in those at that highest level. And that's what we believe, and that's what the goal is, and that's what you guys continue to provide us with resources to do. What's amazing now also is that we're seeing that in our extracurriculars, that elevated access. Students come in and they say, well, I didn't make the 8th grade basketball team, so I figure that's the end of my sports career. Well, nope, you're in Speedway now. We want you to try out for every team. We want you to participate. Those rosters are coming in for our fall sports. We're up over 20% participation in all of the sports that I've seen so far. And that's amazing. I think that's at the heart of what we're doing too. We're building a community within a great community. Just Friday night, I had the privilege and honor to go see our band accomplish something that they've never done before. At the State Fair, where they're some of the most storied marching band programs in the state of Indiana, our guys went out there after, you got to remember, they couldn't march at all last year. A lot of the people in the other outside surrounding counties could participate pretty much like normal. With our restrictions, our current sophomores didn't get to, and of course, our current freshmen have not had that opportunity. So they put in extra work and extra dedication this summer and went out and made the Sweet 16, which everybody performs in the afternoon, and then you earn the privilege to be in that final group in the evening. And Miss Mole and our students accomplished that for the first time ever with all that adversity. And again, I think that's that elevated access. We want you to be a part of it. We want to keep growing these programs and also keep improving the results. And I'm going to do my best to make sure that's what you guys see. If you have any questions for me or Mr. Day or Mr. Borum, we'd love to hear them.
I don't have a question. I just want to piggyback on what Mrs. DeGay said. From having been in your position, the growth that we have had since 2002, and the increase in number of kids in pursuing AP classes. And as we all know, research would tell you if you take an AP class, whether you get a 3, 4, or 5, if you get a 1 or a 2, you know what a college class is like, and the rigor is good. But kudos to the three of you, and keep it rolling like it is. I know we're all proud of the accomplishments, and we don't want to be satisfied, but we're proud of where you've led us.
I appreciate that.
Well, I'm just going to throw in quickly, you all, every year, when some group comes up and says, I don't know how we can go beat this, every year you all do it. So, I mean, every year this keeps continuing to grow, and the number of these students participating in the AP classes is just astounding to me. So, appreciate everything you're all doing.
Thank you.
Well, it starts with this table, and we thank you guys for the support. As I go to the 21 budget, I'm going to change my whole speech coming up because you guys just hit some points, and it just really is touching on this. But I have the most important question for you now. When you're at the state fair, did you have a pork burger, a corn dog, or what'd you eat there, Mr. Claiborne? Tell me the truth, the whole truth.
All that I had were some beef jerky samples that several of the band students had tricked the person into giving them sample after sample by changing clothes and disguising themselves.
You took from the children.
So
That's what you
they
did.
gave
I
it to
know
me because
that.
they were so proud that they were able to
Right.
get these beef jerky samples.
Well, thank you for your commitment going on Friday night, because that's an all-day event, and then I think we were texting about 10:30, and you were telling me the results are getting, I mean, it was later that night when it was all, Mr. Bickle was pushing things around late that night, so that's one of those deals. I know, I just want to say how proud we are of Amy Mole and the band, all the students and all the parents that pitched in, because all you have to do is drive up and down Lyndhurst any time of the day. I think they practice day round, I mean, all day long.
We had so many
I don't- do they ever
seniors come
stop?
back,
Yeah.
even since they didn't get to
Right.
do that their senior year. They had these super seniors come back to really help out and do extra, and they felt, it was part their accomplishment too. But it was great down there afterwards to see them down there by the bus. Just a lot of joy, everybody proud of each other, so it was fantastic.
And one last thing to clarify, I think you said 20%, you mean 20% increase from what we were last year, not 20% for the whole population, because I believe ECAs were well over, almost every kid is a part of some ECA in this Speedway High School.
Right, and each team.
On each
is
team, an
20%.
increased, which
So
is,
football's at 51, 52 now, typically been about 40. Soccer's up to 54, typically, a dozen less than that. So we're increasing, and I think, like I said, I think the results are going to follow.
Sure.
We should have a lot of fun this fall.
and kids are lifting now. I'm hearing a lot of buzz about that.
Yes, we have a lot of excitement, a lot of buzz about
That we didn't lift before. Sorry, let me restate that one.
about the
coach.
strength program now, though. Kids are really excited to get down there, looking forward to getting down there and working hard. So,
Awesome.
Again, all that, I think, like I said, you guys have provided us with resources. We can be stewards of those resources and continue to ensure success.
The only thing I want to add is, and I think this is true at the high school as we're specifically talking about things like AP testing, but I'd be remiss if I don't acknowledge how it trickles down into our younger grades. But I just really am thankful that you all have not, rested on, it's helpful if you take an AP class, but yet you found that balance of continuing to try to improve the scores. It's helpful to do that, but yet we're still doing, so we're always seeing the baseline, but then moving from that. And I think that's, we can say that about all these things over and over, but it just bears repeating. That's something that I can remember 3 or 4 years ago, 3 to 5 years ago, I can remember saying to you all in a board meeting, like, this is great, but we got to make sure teachers are still working to get better. Where's the numbers of their passing scores and yada-da-da? And boom, that just started. And it's just all these pieces that are fitting together that just, I echo Debbie's comment that you think, you can't do better next year, and you always do. So it's just amazing.
No pressure.
Well, gentlemen, thank you. I know you're going to go back to school and do some more work, because that's just what we do at Spark Plug Land. So thank you so much. We're very proud of you guys and your students and your staff.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you for the information in the report. The sixth item on the agenda this evening is an enrollment update for this academic year.
This is one of those things we pay very close attention to at the start of the school year, and that is our enrollment. One of the things we pride ourselves in is having small class sizes. And the enrollment sheets you have in your packet is updated daily, and the one that I gave you before the meeting was updated as of this morning. The spreadsheet shows that there's only 2 classes that have 23 students at the elementary level in them. I would challenge you to find any school in the surrounding area with that. There are 7 classes with 21, 1 with 22, and so about 80% of our classes, 81% of our elementary classes have 20 students or less. The average class size at the elementary is about 17 and a half. And the average class size of the 7 through 12 classes is approximately 18. The current enrollment's 1784. I think that will go up before our week ends. We'd really like to have everybody show up on the first day of school and get started, but that doesn't happen. I assume that number will continue. I predict that number will continue to go up. The junior high is one of those that's kind of interesting. It is close to the highest number it's been in 25 years. It's got 309 students currently, and the high school is getting as large as it's been in years past too, at 533. I've also included in your packet something about the school's population and diversity. It's just interesting information. As we talked about results just a few minutes ago, I think it would be one of those things you would look at and say, huh, I didn't know that. But the breakdown of all of the races, the economic situation at each one of our schools, English learners at each one of our schools, students with disabilities at each one of our schools. And when you see those numbers and you see our results, I think you can say that, our teachers are just knocking it out of the park. And as you can tell by our high school administrative team that, they have great leadership along the way. Any questions about the enrollment?
Thank you for that report. The 7th item on the agenda this evening is to update a policy about electronic participation by school board members in school board meetings.
Mr. President, from the ISBA policy updates, we'll continue doing this each and every meeting from probably for the next few months here. But today I bring to you I would recommend to approve the electronic participation by members in board meetings as presented. This policy will not allow board members to participate by electronic means of communication. Again, the recommendation is to approve this policy.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to approve the electronic participation by board members.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there discussion on the proposed policy?
I would say that, perhaps it's important that the community understand that basically what we did is bind ourselves to coming to meetings in person. So we're not a board that's going to sit here and say, we expect you to send your kids in person and we do all this stuff in person, but we're just going to phone in from wherever we are. And so we had options to allow ourselves to not participate in person, but we decided to continue the past practice of requiring in-person attendance short of a state public emergency.
Great point.
I'd agree. This policy shows our commitment to being here for the students. Is there any more discussion or commentary? Okay, then, would all those in favor of adopting this policy please signify? That passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is a presentation of the 2022 school budget.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I'd like to present the 2022 school budget that started on March 13th of 2020. If you can do the math on that one and the dates, because everything changed at that point in time. The year before that, we decided to change the whole budget to having a general fund to 2 silos, and I'm going to change my presentation tonight to more reflect that of what's going on currently here at Speedway and the budget for 2022. So some guidelines here to just go ahead and begin. We have 2 major funds, the education fund and the operation fund. Those are your 2 big silos. And then we'll talk about referendum, debt service, and rainy day fund also. But the 2 big ones, again, are the education fund and the operation fund. We as in Nancy Johnson, the treasurer, and the team of central office, we continue our dedication to estimating revenue low, expenses high. It's worked since the beginning of time. I don't think I want to change it anytime soon on that. But the key here is to have financial health in the school corporation, that we remain excellent. If this budget is adopted and approved, this is what we are saying that will happen. This budget directs even a higher percentage of funding to the classroom. And I'm going to stop right there. This school corporation is built on people, teachers, in front of kids. Period. This budget reflects that. As you heard about the AP testing from Mr. Claiborne, Mr. Day, Mr. Borum, our results are out of this world right now. We are one corporation that we don't say you have to qualify for an AP test. We're saying you're going to go in the AP test, and not only that, the referendum supports that by paying that student if they pass with a $3, $4, $5, $100. And we also made a commitment a long time ago that we are going to pay the teacher $100 for each kid. And we're going to bring each student, we're going to bring those numbers to you as we filter through this enormous amount of students that passed the AP. And quite frankly, that's hard on a guy like me trying to do the budget, trying to predict how many kids are going to pass an AP exam, because we started with 37. So now we're talking well over hundreds of kids passing. And not only that, they're passing more than one. So they get $100 for each exam. And when I was the principal at the high school, we know that kids pass more than one. They pass more than 2. My last year, we had 2 or 3 individuals pass 7 in 1 year. That's a pretty good paycheck for those, and teachers along with that. So we're very excited about that, and this budget reflects students in the classrooms, and that's where the money goes. And that's how it has been for Speedway, and that's how it will continue. The increase for this budget is $888,000 that we're increasing. That sounds like a lot of money, but that's 4% increase that we're putting more money into the classrooms. Overall, with ESSER, as we've been talking about for months, as the feds continue to give us more money, we've appropriated 9.95% more funding that's going directly into the classrooms. Our commitment is the students, our commitment is the teachers in front of them, and that's where majority, well, 9.95, almost 90% of our total revenue, where that money goes to. So let's open up your packets, if you will, and I'm going to do a brief, just an overcap, if you can bear with me for just about 90 seconds here. The first slide is the education fund. The revenue that comes in for the education fund, again, I'm just going to touch the high parts here, is the state support, and I got to pause for a second. Our ADM, when we created this budget, we were looking somewhere between 1840 and 1860. Right now, our ADM is 1784. It grows a couple every day, and sometimes by 5 and 10. So we're underneath that for right now, the ADM, and that could shift our revenue. But in most recent years, at this date, in the middle of August, we usually go up another 20 to 40 kids. So if you're in the Speedway community, please come to school. Please sign up. Please. That helps a lot. Count day is September 15th typically, and that's the due date then that we get locked in. But our cash balance from the years before, the state support, summer school to interest, reimbursements, a total of $17,794,170. The appropriations, if I can slow down here for a second, is what we spend the money on, and that's largely is to the teachers. So out of the $17 million, as you can see, $10 million, 60% of just this fund is funneled right to the teachers. And you go through the special instruction, summer instruction, remediation, special needs students. There is administration. ECA is also in the education fund. And then we always do the transfers to the operations fund. We've done that each month, over $1.5 million, and we back that off to keep it in the education fund to fund teachers and the students, and we stopped doing that in June. So typically we go all the way to December, and we've stopped that to make sure this fund is healthy. And it is right now, very healthy. The second page is a little more simple because it's operations. So you have to mow your yard and paint the walls and get things like that, and technology. The revenue then is from property tax. And from what we can see right now from the operations fund, we're going to be right on track to where we were at 0.3818 for the property tax is what we're proposing. Again, the appropriations for that is things outside of the education fund, so it's all of your operations from maintenance, grounds, buildings, physical plant, copiers, equipment, and that's your operations fund at $4,541,000. If you flip to the next page of the referendum, this is the revenue from the property tax. Again, excise, your sit and your fit, different taxes that come in, the appropriations for our referendum, and we just thank the community every day, I thank them, that they have the support of what this is going for, again, for the students and the teachers, and that's what the appropriations is for as we continue to have results that we've never seen before. And by us putting extra help in classrooms, we're seeing that class size being reduced and more individual attention, not just from last year was off because of the pandemic, but we've built on this for the last few years. This just didn't happen overnight, these results. So the referendum is 0.5302, and when we go out and we ask the taxpayers and we ask the community, we can raise up to 59 cents, but we're always underneath that at 53 what we need. The last page is debt, and that's last year was 0.001, and because of the newbie project for 4 years, we thought that was going to be 9 cents, and pretty happy it's 0.05. So we were expecting 9 cents, we got it down to a nickel for 5 brand new rooms, the bathrooms, a new chiller. We just got in at the right time for that. It was really good timing and a little bit of luck. But our revenue for that and the property tax, as you can see, is 0.0544 is the rate. The next fund is the rainy day. Our cash balance is 1.175. This rainy day fund, as we're growing for future capital projects, we also have appropriations for contracted services or maintenance of equipment. And 1.1 at this point in time, if we carry over the cash balance of $575,000, we'll be right around just under $1.7 million in our rainy day fund that we will have discussion about down the road. So that's a healthy rainy day fund. So this is usually where everybody wants to get to. What's the tax rate? There's the tax rate. We get pretty close to this. Nancy Johnson's phenomenal when we get down to the pennies, and I think we'll get pretty close again. Remember, sometimes when we advertise, we ask for the most so we can come in what's going to be predicted and what they'll allow us to have so we can run this budget. So the referendum at 0.5302, we're advertising that. We think it's going to come at 0.5113. Operations at 34 cents. The debt's at nickel for the newbie and some textbooks. And we believe that we're going to come in for the taxpayers at 0.9110, which is lower than last year. So, okay, by like 1/1000th. But it is lower. I can use that word. It's lower than last year. I'm very passionate about where we spend every penny. I'm very passionate that we spend it in the classrooms with the kids. That's how I was raised from when I was a kid. It should be about the basics, and that's what this is about. It gets the money where it needs to go, which in my opinion is in front of teachers, students, should see what we do for them, and they do each and every day because they're in a small class size with a great teacher, with great leaders. So that is the 2022 budget. if you guys approve this by consensus, we can we advance this budget to the Speedway Town Council, and that'll be Thursday. I'm planning on speaking to them at 6 p.m.
Is there discussion or commentary concerning the proposed budget? Do we generally accept the proposed budget?
Yes.
It appears you have consensus to move forward with the budget to the town council.
Thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you. Okay, the ninth item on the agenda this evening is to approve a resolution authorizing the superintendent to reduce the 2021 budget appropriations across all funds as necessary to fund the 2022 budget.
We're about halfway through, and we have to create a budget a year in advance. So it's a lot of, not just guesswork, but there's a lot of information that you don't have at the time. So what this resolution will allow us to do is to reduce the appropriations so we can take that appropriations and to fund the next year. So my recommendation is approve this resolution authorizing the superintendent to reduce the 21 budget appropriations and transfers out across of all funds as necessary to fund the 2022 budget. This typically happens on December 27th, 28th, 29th, and 30th when this happens. So you're all welcome to come in if you want to spend those days with me to do that. But this is what we do.
I move that we approve the resolution, authorize the superintendent to reduce the 2021 budget appropriations across all funds as necessary to fund the 2022 budget.
Thank you very much.
I'll second that.
Thank you for the second. Is there discussion or questions on this resolution? All right, hearing and seeing none, if all those in favor of this resolution would please signify by raising a hand. And that passes unanimously. So we need to sign and pass as it affects finances.
Just not use this round table.
Thank you. The 10th item on the agenda this evening is to approve the 21-22 wages and salaries for the food service employees.
This brings great joy to me to give this recommendation. The last few years, we've been around 25 cents to 50 cents on a raise. This year, I propose, and I'm going to recommend a $1.20 raise for the minimum wage. For our cafeteria workers, that is a nickel more if you work here more than 1 year. So if you see the sheet and you're doing the math there, so it's always a nickel higher after the first year on the step system that you guys have had in place for many, many years. So it's a $1.20 for level 1-1. In other words, for your first year employee here in the cafeteria for the first year, and then the second year after that, it's always a nickel more than whatever we do the minimum. So that's the wage on this. These people worked extremely hard, and they are my heroes in my life as I watch. Well, number one, they feed us, and how can you not? You always got to like that. But They worked on days that no one saw, and then days we were shut down, they came in to work, and my hat's off to them, and I hope they can see that our appreciation with this recommendation here is going to be noted, I know, down the road. So the recommendation is approve wages as listed in closed list. Now, cafeteria employees, the recommendation is $1.20 an hour for the minimum wage.
Yes.
I'll move that we approve food service employees 2021, 2022 wages and salaries as recommended by the superintendent.
I'll second.
Thank you both. Is there discussion on this item?
I would just say last school year, it was amazing to see the work they did to provide food when we were out and virtual. It was efficient. It took care of the kids. It was a really, really special thing to see. So thank for all the hard work that they've done for that.
Anything further? Okay. Then would all members of the board in favor of this recommendation and the motion, please signify. And that also passes unanimously. The 11th item on the agenda is to approve extended contracts for some of our teachers and guidance staff.
This is a routine business matter that the recommendation is to approve the following extended contract, as has been done in previous years. Joe Smith, Charles Bennett, and Misty Davenport for 5 days are counselors that help with enrollment and to close school up, and Sarah Ackerman, Innovations class for 1 period. Her numbers continue to grow at 20 or so, and that means our kids wake up an hour before they have to be at school to attend another period. That's how good she is. So my recommendation is approve the following extended contracts.
Yes?
I move that we approve the extended contracts as presented.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there discussion or commentary on that item?
I'll be recusing myself
Okay.
from voting.
And so, hearing and seeing none, if all those in favor would please signify. And that passes with one recuse. The 12th item on the agenda is to acknowledge the grants that we received over the past month. And that amount is $98,811.58. The 13th item on the agenda this evening is the personnel report.
We have several items on the personnel report again this month. We have one resignation, and that is Angie Huskisson, which is a cafeteria worker. And then we have several recommendations for employment. Emily Mulperry is being recommended as Project Lead the Way teacher at Speedway High School. We feel blessed to have her, as she's licensed in several areas and can help us maybe in areas down the road in chemistry, life science, and social studies. The other recommendation is for Susan Brooks as a cafeteria worker. She's going to be placed at Allison Elementary. Jamil Johnson is being recommended as a custodian, will be placed at Allison Elementary also. Christopher Pyle is being recommended as the head boys tennis coach. Christopher's currently working as an elementary teacher in Indianapolis Public Schools. He's going to be coaching our boys tennis team. Amber Holbrook is being recommended as assistant high school cheerleading coach. Amber is also helping with our junior high cheerleading program, so there'll be some continuity with that. John Philip Clay is being recommended as the 7th grade assistant football coach. Last month, that name may seem familiar. He was approved as a volunteer coach at the 7th grade level last month's board meeting, but due to movement of coaching positions within our system, he's now being recommended for a paid position. Dean Kinnison is being recommended for the newly created high school assistant boys soccer coach position. As you heard, that those numbers keep going up, and we only had 2 coaches out there to help, and Dean is being recommended to fill one of those positions. Also in this month's board package is an up-to-date listing of ECA positions. These are, at the beginning of the year, there's a lot of these things that change. But it's easy, if you look on the far right-hand side, you'll see that if we have a employee that is new to one of these positions, they're listed in blue ink. And we have a new employee to our corporation, and filling one of these positions is listed in green ink, and I've included those in the recommendations for this evening's board meeting. We also have a volunteer coach that's being recommended, and that's Joe Stewart. He's being recommended as a volunteer high school football coach. My recommendation is that you approve the personnel report as presented.
Yes,
I move that we approve the personnel report as presented.
I'll second.
thank you. Are there any questions or commentary on this personnel report?
Do we have any open positions? Have we filled everything?
We do not have any open teaching positions at this time. We are filling some pair positions, some cafeteria positions. We have, Dr. Trebley can't wait to tell us about the crossing guards.
We need crossing guard people.
Yeah.
We really, really do. So if you're listening at home and you want, it's like $30 for like 30 minutes, if that a day, please call me, and we will get you with the right people. But we need crossing guard individuals that are looking for some things to do in the morning and afternoon. So thank you for letting me have the platform for that.
Just a little bit for those watching, so that it is a morning and then in the afternoon, and it's, you said that at a meeting today, it's roughly about 30 minutes or 45 minutes a day that you would do this on both of those ends. It's been a long-standing tradition here in Speedway that we have parents or grandparents or whoever that will, paid position that would watch our kids safely cross the streets. So if you are looking for something to do, we'd love for you to give us a call.
Any other questions or commentary? Okay, then, if all in favor of the personnel report being approved as submitted would signify. And that passes unanimously. The 14th item on the agenda is to recognize visitors and to handle other business.
Welcome. Welcome.
May we speak to the board? Is that possible?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. My name is Jim Mulholland. This is my wife, Jennifer Custer. This is our first time attending a board meeting here. And first off, I want to say, after seeing so many crazy board meetings on the news in recent months, it was really refreshing to be here tonight. So let me just read a short statement to you that my wife and I wanted to make kind of preemptively. Tonight I want to thank you, your administrators, and your teachers for not teaching critical race theory to our children and teenagers in Speedway. And I know this to be the case because I understand that critical race theory is a complicated theoretical explanation of systemic racism that, if taught, is usually taught in law schools and postgraduate studies. And while I think it can be a helpful construct in understanding systemic racism, it is too sophisticated for elementary students and even more for most high schoolers. Unfortunately, not everyone understands this. And I fear that you may be accused as administrators and teachers of nefarious motives, that by teaching about racism, you are trying to make children, white children, feel guilty or be ashamed of being white. Some people will demand that you pass resolutions opposing the teaching of critical race theory, even though they cannot define it. And I encourage you to resist this. In addition, it is possible that our Indiana legislature may soon pass laws making critical race theory illegal to teach. If so, you need not fear such laws. As long as you honestly teach American history, you are fulfilling your obligation as educators. As parents of a sophomore black daughter, it is vitally important to us that she receive a nuanced and thoughtful presentation of American history, sociology, and psychology that take seriously our past in racial relations. In a school district such as Speedway, where over half of your students are not white, it is vitally important that your students know as much about Frederick Douglass and Hugo Chavez as they do of George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. And our students need to understand that our nation is still a work in progress, and that liberty and justice for all is an aspiration and not always a reality. And that we need to prepare our children for university studies where they will be asked to think critically about race and racism. So I encourage and expect you to do so. Our society has not been easy on educators. We have not appreciated their many sacrifices during these past 2 years, the risks that they've taken in the midst of a pandemic. We've asked you to do more with less, and some have denigrated educators. And unfortunately, I expect such behavior to continue. And you may be soon accused of being anti-white or racist or socialist just for being responsible educators. So please know that a majority of parents here in Speedway support you, and do not allow the voices of ignorance to confuse you. You, more than anyone, understand your duty to create well-informed, thoughtful, responsible U.S. citizens. And for that, my wife and I thank you. So thank you for letting me share that letter with you and the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other business to bring before the board?
I have a few comments. The first one is Parent Square is up and running, our communication platform. I sent out an email or a message out on Parent Squared on the first day, August 3rd. Our teachers now have access to that, and we're learning how to go through that at this time, as we don't want to overload people with communication, but at the same token, we want to make sure that we're good on communicating back and forth. So Parent Square is up and running. We're going to work through that and hopefully make that a lot better than on the communication side. Also, we continue to follow our Marion County Public Health Department and the guidelines and protocols that we have in place, and we followed them since day one, and we're continuing doing that at this time. We have a very low number right now after being open for over a week we do have 3 positive cases, and we're down to 5 students that are quarantined right now at this time. So our numbers are extremely low compared to some other people, but the colleagues in Marion County, at least on the south side, we're running about the same numbers for our population and the numbers that we have. So again, we're very blessed right now in a community that people, we're about school, we're about teaching and learning, and we're putting the focus where it needs to be, and that's in the classroom for those students. So if anybody has questions out in the community or whatnot, please give me a call.
Any other business before the board? Yes, sir?
If I may address the board?
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So as this young man to my left so eloquently spoke with you tonight, it compelled me to draft something here in the last few seconds. So, I'm just kidding, actually. Good evening, and I thank the board for acknowledging me in tonight's meeting. My name is TJ Parker, and I am here with my advisor partner, Laura Pence, and we are with Equitable Advisors, one of the district's 403B providers. Though we are not new to Equitable, we are new advisors in the district. And our presence here tonight and our presence at future board meetings is one of the ways that Ms. Pence and I are facilitating in order to have a better understanding of what spark plugs are all about. And to be honest with you, it was a pleasure to sit and listen and hear the progress that Speedway schools are making in the classroom. And that's one of the reasons why we're also passionate about assisting your teachers in what they do every day. One of the many ways that we are considered the #1 403B providers in the U.S. is not just due to the numbers of education clients that we serve, it's actually is the amount of dedication, pride, and passion that we exhibit in every engagement that we have with our school district clients and their staff. Many of us at Equitable are former educators like myself. I was an AP teacher, AP French teacher, so it was very very awesome to hear those numbers of how many students are in AP classes, 93% for this school year. That's remarkable. I come from Wayne Township, so though we were very proud of those numbers there back when I taught, this is really impeccable. So congratulations to the board and to Dr. Tremblay. But also, we also care so much about the success of the educators, not only in the classroom, but also with their finances. Finances in healthcare are the largest stressors that employees have in any organization, and that does not make any difference here at school districts. And it is our honor for us to have the partnership with the district in however we can support it. A second and very important way that Equitable supports your staff is the amount of visibility and the amount of education that we provide. We educate the district staff on all of their retirement benefits and what options they have now with the state, with the district, and what they can do now to align themselves with their future retirement goals. Another way that Ms. Pence and I can support your staff is by offering webinars and/or seminars on topics that they value regarding healthcare and retirement. Retirement is a very commendable feat, but it is also daunting for most. As a certified under 65 healthcare, Affordable Care Act healthcare, and Medicare specialist, we would be willing to collaborate with your benefits coordinator to facilitate seminars to help to educate your staff ahead of time on what to expect as they begin to contemplate their retirement. As I conclude, we would like to thank you for allowing us to be an integral part of your Sparkplug community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If there is no other business to bring before the board, we will exit and sign checks. Approve claims, as they say.